And our final quickfire speaker next up is William Cooper of the Service List Registry, and he's going to look at how the platform that he's running helps to track global adoption of HbbTV using ADB.
Thanks very much. So the Service List Registry provides a global platform to enable devices and displays to access services online, ensuring interoperability and providing economies of scale. So television and video services are moving online, whether as hybrid services or entirely delivered over the internet. And it's no longer enough to distribute programming over various networks. It must be discoverable. And the Service List Registry is the exclusive provider of application discovery over broadband for HbbTV applications. The HbbTV Association appointed SLR to act as the global registrar for the registration and resolution of unique service references under the domain name HbbTVDNS.org. So, application discovery over broadband is an independent HbbTV specification that allows smart TVs and set-top boxes to discover services and applications over the internet. ADB enables an HbbTV device or display to discover whether a service has an associated HbbTV application, and if so, where to load it from, without relying on broadcast data. So traditionally, we've used a DVB application information table to transmit information about an associated HbbTV application. But if there's no AIT, there is another mechanism for online application discovery using a domain name string that's automatically requested by a compatible device. So the domain name structure is built out of the DVB network number, the service name, and the country as determined by the device, and a specific root domain, HbbTVDNS.org. And we resolve that request to a registered domain name, which can be used to launch an application. So this is the process by which a standard domain name system response is used to construct a domain name that's requested, and if there's a match in the registry, it's resolved to a specified domain name that's returned to the client. Now, that can obviously be cached by internet service providers and a local network router and possibly on the device itself. So only a proportion of DNS lookups will be resolved by the authoritative name servers. And we deploy this on AWS infrastructure across multiple regions, providing redundant networking and globally distributed edge locations. So how much of this is being used, and what can we tell from that? And bear in mind that we only see initial requests to resolve services where there's no broadcast AIT and it requires a television to be connected to the internet. But what we do see is real and indicative. And we see around 500,000 requests an hour, 10 million a day, 70 million a week. And this is where they come from. So we get a pretty good heat map of deployment of compatible televisions, including countries that may not currently offer HbbTV services. So this shows the proportion by country, and as you'll see, Indonesia, with its large population, is top of the list, ahead of countries like Italy, Australia, the United Kingdom, Germany, and so on. If we look at Indonesia, for example, we can see that in a recent week, there were over 720,000 DNS requests against one particular service. And here we can see numbers for Italy, millions of requests across popular services. This is Australia. A couple of things to observe here. Firstly, many of the services do broadcast AIT for a Freeview application. And secondly, the networks are regionalized, so they may have unique names. So that leads to a distribution of those across the set. The UK is also interesting because AIT is broadcast for many of the Freeview channels. But we do see here other European services that are being selected. And this is Germany, where HbbTV may be less of a thing, but popular channels may be missing out. So what happens if a subdomain is not registered? Well, nothing. Currently, the registry returns a no-error empty response. So why might we want to register a service? Well, if you do register a service, you can get an insight into the traffic that would otherwise be invisible to you. You can direct those requests to your own endpoint or application, even if you don't provide a visible HbbTV service. And it's not just the initial requests, because that might be cached, but potentially every time a service is selected. And you might use that to log anonymous metrics, identify patterns and trends, know more about what devices are accessing your services, where and when, all useful information. It means also that you can potentially extend support for HbbTV applications without broadcasting AIT information, including applications like enhanced or addressable advertising. So, where can you find out more? slrdb.org. You can see all the details there in terms of the terms, the fees, registration per service per year, which goes towards the operational cost of maintaining the service. If you'd like to discuss further, I'll be here throughout the symposium, and hopefully we may have a session at the unconference session tomorrow. And I'd be keen to hear from stakeholders, including consumer electronics manufacturers and service providers. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Bang on time. Thank you very much, William. Super interesting to see those figures there. It exposes information that wasn't available to us before.